All right, so Gift of the Givers has joined in relief efforts in flood-ravaged KwaZulu-Natal. Let's get a sense of how they're going to help. We're joined by founder and chairperson Dr Imtiaz Sooliman. Thank you so much for your time. I believe it all started with many phone calls. Could you give us a sense of when those calls started coming, how many you've had to field, and what are they telling you? Imtiaz, I think you might be muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I was asking you about the phone calls that you started receiving.
Yes. The calls started coming last night, predominantly from corporates, strangely enough, wanting to know how they can assist in the areas itself that have been affected in KZN. We don't receive that many calls from people, from individuals itself. Those calls started coming this morning. And we had our teams out very early this morning. The first call came very early, around 5 o'clock. And the person said, in Tonga, there's a lady and 3 children who have been swept away. We were in that area exactly last week, Tuesday. And the lady who was swept away was given a food parcel bus last week, Tuesday. That same area, we helped 200 families, and they were all in low-lying areas. So our teams got there early this morning. They had recovered the body of the lady and 2 of the children. The 3rd child was not recovered yet. But it was very tragic for us because we had just been there and we had just assisted those people and with 200 hampers. And besides the loss of life of the lady and the children, those flats were severely affected. The water had risen 1 meter in a very short space of time. The teams then moved from there onwards into other teams were busy in Pietermaritzburg. They went into an area where 53 homes were destroyed, and they went into Sobantu also and a few other areas. Again, because of our partnership and relationship with the government, the municipality said they would take care of those 2 areas and they'll count on us if we need any assistance. Our teams going on the road and having built relationships help us prevent duplication. In the meantime, we're also getting feedback from the South Coast and from several other areas through networks that we've established for over the years, and especially during the summer unrest of last year. By the end of this evening, we had already covered Hillcrest, Pinetown, Mandin Hill, Umlazi, KwaMashu, Kingsway, parts from Zinto, Tonga, Verulam, Phoenix. And right now, so far, we've had 1,300 families that require assistance. We've already started distributing to some of those people. In addition to that, besides the hot meals, the blankets and clothing required, kids are going to require uniforms and stationery for ones to go back to school. And the other big challenge is going to be to help with building material for those who can rebuild their homes.
Do you have a handle on the level of damage and the level of need? And I ask this because it seems so difficult because of the fact that many areas are cut off. We spoke to Medivac ops manager based in Port Shepstone. He estimates that just in that area there are thousands of people who are homeless. You said you've identified 1,300. Do you have a handle on how deep the need might be? Because I know that you've also been looking at areas north of Durban, such as Stanger.
Yes, no, it's very difficult to say because for the first time in our whole history, we couldn't reach areas. When my teams left Tonga and started coming upwards to Verulam and Phoenix, that was fine. But when they got to Durban, from Durban they couldn't get to Isipingo. They said they drove around for over 2.5 hours to try to find a road to get them to Isipingo and beyond. They just couldn't get there. And this morning I was in communication with the Provincial Commissioner of SAPS, Lieutenant General Mkunazi, because we have a close working relationship with SAPS. And they said the same thing, that many areas are inaccessible. On the end too, everybody's aware that the water was flowing like a river on the road with containers all over the show. So we don't really know the extent to what the damage is. Yes, you see videos from people posting videos from different areas, showing houses destroyed, showing bridges destroyed. In Shongweni, the road just collapsed. People say you can't come to the market on Saturday. In Park Clinic, the cars have just collapsed down the bridge, the road cut in half. So the infrastructure from a national point of view, from a government point of view, is massive. The individual houses, it's very, very difficult to say right now because we haven't collected all the information given the extent to which the flood has damaged everybody.
Yeah, and I know that you, of course, have offered assistance for many in many times of disaster here in South Africa and further afield. From what you're hearing and the reports that you're getting, would you say that this should be declared a disaster?
This morning, I wasn't sure. This morning because I didn't have enough information. But getting the feedback now, it has to declare a national disaster. It has to be declared immediately because the infrastructure has to be repaired very, very soon. It's going to affect, the economy. It's going to affect the productivity. It's going to affect schools. It's going to affect people going to work. It's going to delay travel time on the roads, and it's just going to put us backwards, months again. And it's something we cannot afford. It requires urgent intervention. And we have to find the money somehow and fix up the roads and the electrical areas as soon as possible. Even schools, the amount of schools that have been affected, again, it's going to affect learning. We've lost 2 years of learning time with COVID. We can't afford to get any more backward. The other problem is the storm may not be over yet. There's prediction that more water may come by the weekend. And support from corporates is going to be vital, to support government efforts, because alone government can't do this.
You've spoken about how you are working hand in hand with government, and you've been assessing what areas you need to focus on. So what happens now? At what point are you going into those areas? What's going to happen over the next 24 hours for Gift of the Givers?
Well, we've got the full reports of what's required. We've already started distributing in some areas. And from tomorrow, we can do full-scale distribution in the areas that we already know. But if we can get there, the problem is we can't get to all the areas. So you use the concept of low-hanging fruit. Where you can get to, you start distributing. But there is another challenge. We don't want people to still stay in the low-lying areas or in the floodplains. We need government to give them land slightly higher up, not 10 kilometers away. They're not going to move so far. So if they can get homes or a land somewhere nearby, which is out of a low-lying area or a floodplain, we can then assist with building material in those areas. But in the absence of that, in the meantime, we'll carry on the food parcels, hot meals, blankets, sanitary pads, hygiene packs. And once they're ready and move their homes, then and ready to go to school, we will then look at providing the stationery and the uniforms. And then, of course, we have to look at, depending on the funding that we receive. We were fortunate that Vodacom this evening started us off with 3 million rand. So if other corporates come to the party, we can then look at infrastructure and supporting education and even any health, any clinics are affected. And the faster we can do that, the faster we can return to normality. But we still have to wait. We don't know how much more rain is going to come in the weekend.
Are you still getting distress calls? We're trying to assess whether there are still people trapped in their homes, or has that abated now? Do you think that most people who needed to get out of their homes have left their homes and been able to go, or are you still getting distress calls of people stuck?
No, there's no distress calls anymore, because the rain had stopped, the sun had come out. And remember, in many areas, people themselves, community people, start becoming rescue workers. They assist their people as best they can. So that's unique nature. Well, not unique, but it's a phenomenon of disasters where people next to you, if they can help you, they assist immediately. And the last person I was speaking to was around, I think, 1 o'clock, and they said that 4 people had just been rescued from a roof in Isiping. That was the last distress call, and I haven't heard of any more people stuck. Of course, earlier in the day, there were people who were trapped under retaining walls that had fallen, and people were trying to take them out. And of course, some people were deceased. So other than that, there has been no further calls to take them out of water, where they're trapped by water. It's only taking time to take them off a retaining wall.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that update, and good luck with your efforts over the next few days. Gift of the Givers founder and chairperson, Dr Imtiaz Sooliman.